Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Salon. Before we start tonight, you've heard me say before, we're not a politics podcast, but we want to speak out when the times call for it. And today is one of those days. We all witnessed a hate crime today, and I want to share some resources to help anybody who has also been victimized by the hair and makeup department of Star Trek. Be you Terry Farrell, be you Rebecca Romaine. Justice for Una in all ways. That hair is a hate crime. I believe a change.org petition is being circulated for war crimes investigations. But in the meantime, Rebecca, we stand with you. We hear you. We unfortunately see you in this crime, but we wish for nothing but hope and light in your future. And for anybody else feeling victimized, you may be entitled to compensation. So please do hail the law offices of New York Tool. You'll see the phone number and frequency on your screen now. That silliness out of the way. Welcome to the Salon, all the podcast things. Please do like, subscribe, share, comment on all of our nonsense. We are on all the podcast platforms wherever you want to catch my monotonous voice, it is there. But more importantly, the lovely voices of our panel. We are also on Patreon. If you got a couple of dollars, you can throw our way for some fun benefits, including bonus content. We will be recording some bonus content this weekend. We are going to be not only doing commentary on cause and effect from Strange New World, from The Next Generation. We're talking about Strange New Worlds later tonight. We will also be answering a fun prompt from one of our Deep Space Niners about the destruction of the Enterprise D, the many, many times we saw it on screen. So for a few dollars a month, you get that bonus content, and it helps defray the cost of putting on the Salon. Thank you very much to all of our Patreon supporters. And again, if you have been victimized by the hair and makeup department, please reach out today. You know who hasn't been victimized by the hair and makeup department? This fierce bitch. Hello, Joanne, and that incredible flowy mane you got going on today. How you doing, girl?
I am doing well. I am doing well. I would never be victimized by such. Stand up for your rights.
That's right. You know who also does that and keeping it in the South? Krista, how you do?
Oh, hey, I love Joanne's her as well.
Can't be victimized by the hair department, but perhaps the makeup department. Let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers from Canada. Benji, how you doing?
Good. Got my nails did.
Yes, love it.
I have nothing else to get did. So,
well, we'll try to get you did later. You know who's also not getting did recently? Me. And coming to us live from Virginia, Will, how are you?
Can't believe you come for me like this.
You know, I'm working on the segues, and I was given an opportunity.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, to knock me down a peg. Yes. Yes.
And also let the audience know. Slip into those DMs. Get it.
DC might not be in a drought anymore, but I certainly am. DC get your shit together. I'm good. Hello.
Love it. Well, you know who's also always flooded? The newest LA girly, and not on camera, so let's hope this isn't ill-timed. Matt, how are you?
Doing great.
Yeah. Doing great, sweetie. This is the fiery, on point commentary and content everybody is so desperate for on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Keeping it California, and also not likely to be victimized by the hair department, but perhaps others. And he knows what to do about it. It's my co-host, Trevor. How you do?
I'm sorry, just maybe Matt's off screen because he's actually getting laid right now when the rest of us are all talking about Star Trek.
Hopefully. One can hope. Well, welcome, friends. Welcome to the Salon. Hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us and being active there. We love it. Oh, we got a private chat. Maybe that's... Oh, you know what? This is my bad. Matt said to keep him back. So I want to, on air, This time it was on me, not on Matt. That is on air. I can admit when I'm wrong. It's rare, but it happens. We'll see her when she beams back in from whatever she's doing or whoever. Welcome to the Salon. It's going to be a fun night. We've got a brand new episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds to talk about, and I have thoughts, and I imagine you all have thoughts as well. But before we can get into those thoughts, as you know, we simply must set an intention.
This is obvious, but don't forget to set an intention when you light it, or you're just going to be wasting the wax.
To set an intention tonight, I thought it would be not to call more attention to the hate crime that was Una's hair, but I thought it would be fun in the spirit of fixing that hair don't that she was supporting in this week's episode. If we went around the room and gave a makeover to anyone in the Trek universe. So who is it and what are we doing? As always, I will start us off. I'm going to begin. I'm actually going to cheat on my own question. I'm going to give two answers. But it's because I'm going to make over to Paul and Travis Mayweather. I'm going to have Paul wear more and Travis wear less.
Problematic gay alert.
I'll take it. I earned it. It's fine. Let's go around the room.
Now with more Spock and Harry Spitties. Problematic gay alerts.
Oh, you updated it.
That.
Fine, I'll show it again.
Don't let anyone suggest that we're not timely.
Harry Spitties all over my face. There, now I triggered it for real.
Problematic gay alert.
I like how he's flanked by his own Spitties. That's beautiful.
Yes.
William, who are you making over and how?
I mean, I have to say Jadzia, because they never quite figured out what to do with her. Unfortunately, we did have her notorious hair tumor. Yeah, whatever's going on there, looking like a hair show version of the alien from Aliens. Terrible, but she just needs a little. They never knew what to do with her, unfortunately, and it's like I feel like they took so much time putting on her spots that they're like, oh, we'll just put it up. Like, it's just terrible. But yeah, it would probably be unfortunately be Jadzia.
I'll take it. Benji.
Well, just because it's fresh in my mind that wet rat Corby from last week needs to either scrub that terrible stubble off of his face, if you can call it that dirt, or I think grow it out, volumize his hair, just like more, not so flat. Get some water pressure in your apartment.
Love it. Krista.
I noticed it. I kept it to just the Strange New Worlds cast, and I noticed that like every other cast member seems to have some kind of physical presentation that they spent a lot of time on, and I from an artist perspective, I think they spent the least amount of time on M'Benga. And when I look at his face, I think I feel like I'm looking at a king. His facial structure is so profoundly beautiful. And I can't stand that his cheekbones and just the sort of regalness that he has is hidden by that beard. I need the beard to either go down to a goatee or unload the beard altogether, because his face, his eyes are incredibly emotive. His face is beautiful. I love everything about him. I really like the actor, and it could just be an actor's choice, but if I could go full 100, I would give him a crown of like very big dreads with curls and like some kind of regal thing that holds it all back. That's ancestral. And I mean, I would go full, give me that face with crown, the whole bit. So
I'm sorry. You what you said was beautiful, but for a split second, you said I would like his beard to go down, and I was like, yes, same.
well, that's private.
Problematic gay alert.
That'll get a shadow ban. What?
That implies that we weren't already banned.
I was going to say we're probably just talking to the six of us.
We're hovering under 50 for a long time, and we're in the double digits of viewers, though. So please stay with us, everybody.
I'm just saying his face is made for portraiture, just in any form. All right, that's it. That's my choice. That's my pick.
Joanne.
So I also have two. I was about to say only one is petty, but no, they're probably both equally petty. And the first is Maul, bitch, wash your face and do your hair. And then the second one is Cassidy Yates. She needs a wardrobe update. She did not compare to Cisco's style. She needs to be a little more regal, a little more pulled together. She always looked like she shopped. Well, I won't shame anybody who shops there, but she looks like she shopped somewhere she shouldn't. I'll just put it that way. So there we go.
Chico's? Is it Chico's?
It is Chico's.
Girl. I thought you were gonna. I knew you were gonna say Cassidy, but I was hoping you would be like, what I would do as a makeover is she would be in a casket. Like I was hoping for something like that. Like
I would
I
send
was
her
like,
away.
I'm gonna drag Cassidy. I'm glad we brought them all. I forgot about her.
Yes, wash
That
your
wig,
face
Jesus, the wig.
and do your hair.
I'm obsessed with the visual of Cassidy standing in a Chico's in like the jumper section where it's just a bunch
Just
of
like holding up two patterns.
Like,
Two pairs of pleated front slacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And
sensible
First of all, she had
shoes.
bad
And
hair. Too.
sensible
Her hair was
shoes.
bad.
She
that
also
first
has
appearance.
bad hair too. I agree. She needs
Her
like
first appearance.
twists
That just
or braids, like to match his energy, right? Yeah.
yeah. Her first. Oh, get that fucking that roach fucking thing out. Ugh.
I forgot about Maul as well. I should have included her in my compensation ad.
She was
No,
she
that's Jay.
That's just being dirty. Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Jail for that. This is grand jury convened to discuss that fucking hateful wig.
Well, I will close out with this evening. Good night. No, mine. Hear me out. I'm gonna say Janeway, but not in a '90s. I'm gonna fuss over her hair. My makeover for Janeway is gonna be whatever Kate wanted her hair to be from the jump. The shoulder cut that they never did for the pilot. They made that incredible actress redo half of the pilot, and she was already late to the pilot because of bad hiring choice. Worth it, yes, but they made her redo half the pilot because they were fussing with her fucking hair. Just let her have whatever hair she wanted to have, and
she got it by what, season 4,
5 or 6? Yeah, the bob.
No,
She was
like
also-
halfway through. Yeah, she had the bob by like season 3 or 4.
She was also following 2 bald captains. Like, leave her hair alone.
Yeah,
it's clearly not a priority
I
for command.
thought you were talking about Shatner for a second. I said he's wearing a rug.
3 bald captains.
3 bald.
Thank you, William. Thank you, William.
Because I literally thought I forgot about Cisco.
3 bald, but only 2 confident captains.
There you go.
It's true. Well, friends, the intentions are set, and we are ready to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This is the Shuttle to Kenfori Salon. Kenfori being an actor from the zombie movie, I want to say Dawn of the Dead.
I think that's
Yes. I think that's yes. Fun little Easter egg for this Zombieland episode. So let's get into it. I will not get into my top thoughts because we have a guest to beam back in, reformatted and got him through the atmosphere. It's Matt. How you do?
Oh, hi.
Who are you
hello.
making over and how?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make over Jadzia Dax, and I'm going to make her over from Dead to Alive.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You took it in a different direction from Will, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm gonna make her over, much like this episode. No one dies because I don't want her to be, a zombie. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we will get into our. I will kick off the top thoughts on this episode. I watched it twice. Once at 5 a.m. this morning after a friend's birthday shenanigans. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm tired. Like, here's why I had some nitpicks. I watched it again. I still have my nitpicks, but it was fun. I enjoyed this episode. I think there's some good stuff here, some good character moments and performances. But the execution in a couple of things I think is lacking. So I'm going to be curious about everybody's thoughts. I like that we get another zombie jaunt in the Star Trek franchise. Although, again, I'm saying this surprisingly, Enterprise did it better. Who would have thought you'd ever say that? The zombie episode in Enterprise, I think they executed the zombie aspect of it at least a little bit better. But this was fun. The gore wasn't too much. It didn't lean too campy for me. The jump scares I didn't find scary, and I am quite the insert problematic term here when it comes to getting scared as a homosexual man, and I still enjoyed it a good deal. And again,
Nelly
good
Queen,
character
I'll
moments
say
and
it.
performances. Say again, Trevor.
I said Nelly Queen. I'll say it.
Nelly Quinn. Oh, that was not anywhere
Is that where you
near
were
as
going?
bad as. Oh, I was going to say Sissy La La, but now we're getting demonetized. We weren't
Weak
anyway.
little bitch.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. But there was some fun stuff in this episode. Like I said, the execution was a little wonky. That hair was distracting, but Una and Erica, I thought, had a lot of great chemistry in their scenes. I like what they're doing there. I love the stuff with Pike and M'Benga, except for Pike getting angry. I don't know if it was the material or choices from the actor or the director. I don't think Anson's angry Pike worked for me in this episode, but everything else with him and M'Benga was great. And my last of my top thoughts is I said it that day when we watched The Cloak of War. M'Benga killed that fucker. It was not ambiguous. The execution of that frosty glass was an odd directorial choice, and today I was proven right. Lest anyone doubt me again, I was and always will be right. Dr. M'Benga is a murderer, and that makes him a very cool, interesting character. I don't condone murder, but look at the layers that we're getting in this character that we don't get in a lot of others in this show. I'm intrigued. So those are my top thoughts. Joanne, your top thoughts on Shuttle to Kenfori.
I thought this was a really interesting episode. When I usually skip past the recap, but I didn't this time. And when I saw the previously ons, I was like, this is an interesting combination of stories. And I wasn't sure why all three of these were coming up, or four, I don't remember. But at the end, I thought the questions that this episode asked and I think the story was trying to tell was actually very compelling and very interesting. Um, I didn't think Mbiga's role was ambiguous the first time he killed him. But I think the question is, what does that mean? And I don't think he's any more a murderer than anyone else in Starfleet. But we can talk about that when we get there. So, but really, I thought it was compelling to kind of explore that we all have a monster inside of us. And what does that mean? And what are our responsibilities of like duty and love and friendship when we're wrestling also with ourselves? Like, I thought it was compelling. Did they always stick the landing? No. But the questions I thought were brilliant. So I kind of liked it.
When I saw the last time little clips, I was really excited that this clearly was going to go into being a M'Benga episode. He's my favorite character, not just because I like to look at him and objectify him in tasteless ways, but because of what is he within this crew, and is he a murderer? Is there justification for it? All of those kinds of questions. So I enjoyed that storyline. I will agree with, I don't know, Stan, if you were talking about him getting angry because Mbenga wouldn't divulge information about Marie to him. And I thought what was interesting towards the end was it was kind of ham-fisted, but the whole idea that maybe as captains in general or as men in general, this idea that this decision wasn't hers to make without consultation with him. I thought, okay, that's an interesting, that they actually went there. Usually that's something we bitch about because they don't make that logical leap. And in this one, they went ahead and leaned into it. And I liked that, Mbenga kind of said, without saying, dude, you're not her next of kin. You have no entitlement to any of this information. This is her decision. You're not necessary. You're incidental to all of this. And then she kind of repeated it while also saying, if you want to be here for me, then be here for me because I'm afraid. Don't be here for me so that you can make my decisions for me, which I think is kind of a huge leap from where the franchise started in terms of interactions between males and females within the ships, within the working relationships, within personal relationships. And so I like that they leaned into that. Outside of that, I really felt like it was kind of, I don't want to say a filler episode, but it was kind of like, oh, okay, so that happened. And I didn't really, and I think probably because I'm not terribly invested in Marie, because if I remember correctly, she didn't even get a first name until the second season's last episode. So it's like all of these characters have so much backstory and so much whatever. And I feel like it's sort of mildly manipulative that your choice to not kill her off, which was clearly the original choice, now you want me to be invested in her. And you're doing it through kind of contrived death trope. Or, kind of trite, she's sick, she's going to die, or she's going to grow into one of those Gorn things. I'm not particularly a fan of that. I don't like that kind of manipulation. It's I don't know if I'm going to use the term correctly, but it's like a Mary Sue or a Mary Stew, where you're sort of narratively manipulated into liking someone without objectively evaluating whether you like them. Like
she is kind of becoming a Mary Stew with all the Gorn stuff happening.
Right. I mean, and we're going to do another.
Thank you, Trevor.
We're going to do another off the books. It's like, oh, and this week in off the book, so we're going to do another off the books, and we're going to do it for this one person. And it's like, at some point, does anybody like look at it? And maybe I'm just a fiscal conservative, but does anybody look at this $1 billion ship and go, it's not just for fucking you to just take it and do whatever the fuck you want? I mean, seriously, it's this.
Where is Starfleet Doge?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying where is Starfleet Doge, but like, well, obviously this is going to be off the books. And obviously we're going to use this thing that doesn't actually belong to us to go and chase after this character or find this beautiful orchid or whatever it is for this character that I'm personally not very invested in. So obviously I have a very biased way of looking at this and thinking, why the fuck are we doing this? Also, don't you love that all the zombies, it all comes down to like things that we just are dismissive of, moss, mushrooms, like biological warfare. We don't care about any of that. We don't think any of that's going to hurt us, and it turns us into zombies. It's cool. He went on a little Daryl and Carol. Let's go visit Daryl and Carol.
And those are Krista's top thoughts.
Those are those are my only thoughts, really.
Benji, what are your top thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, just picking up on like the Moss thing. It's like they just took like the Last of Us idea, and instead of the fungus, they made it moss. But it's
Those
like
are mushrooms.
moss is big. How does moss get into your bloodstream? I don't know. Yeah, it was like there was also like no intrinsic reason for there to be zombies. It was just like because zombies. Like the Vulcan episode again was also better because it was like integrated into the plot. This was just like stakes raising for the episode. I felt it was like pretty low key for a zombie episode. I didn't even like realize that there were jump scares, but I'm also not super susceptible to them. I will say I think this is maybe the first time I've ever been excited to see Klingons. I pretty consistently find Klingons boring. But I got like a little boost of excitement when they showed up, and I feel like they're a really good like combination or balance between TOS Klingons and the TOS movie era Klingons in sort of the way they act and speak. I think they kind of nailed it there. They also, I think, kind of hit it home. They introduced like some Star Trek 6-esque music that I think kind of flavored it a little more for me. So I like Klingons. That's nice because there's a lot of Klingons in Star Trek. So if there's more, I like these, and I like the gold armor. And also, I said last week, this Rongovian walked up to Mbenga at the end, and I was like, "Is that something?" Turns out it was. He took it off. Yeah.
You called it. I mentioned it on Text Track. You called it.
Nice. Yeah. Also, I don't think it's super necessary. Like there wasn't really a need for that, but
it was an out of place moment. You're like,
yeah,
what's this random? All right, and now we know.
Now we know. Just seated for whatever reason. Honestly, so and then I think my absolute favorite thing about this episode was like wig aside, Una being in command.
Yeah,
phenomenal. Like we've all been saying, we want more Una. We want more Una. She was in the chair for this whole episode. I think like initial issue a little bit with Romaine, like when she was in Discovery, but then also how they sort of tried to not soften Una, but make her a little more sociable. And they speak to it. She was like, like in the musical episode, she's like, she's trying to be more sociable with the crew and stuff like that, which I think is great. But Majel Barrett's portrayal of Una was of a commander who is like very in charge, very on point, super impressive and impactful performance just for that one episode. And I feel like finally in this episode, we have Rebecca Romaine doing that character and doing Majel's portrayal of it justice. So fantastic to see. Like she was really on point. Absolutely loved it. So, and I think also that answers the reason about why I think they wanted to maybe put her hair up to make her seem more commanding, but they executed it horribly. So.
They mentioned in the Text Trick stream, it was probably because of the anti-gravity stuff. I was like, oh, yeah. Because I remember I love Subspace Rhapsody, but that anti-gravity moment, people were like, wait, the hair was a little off. Still, there were other options. Matt, your top thoughts on this episode?
Well, I will agree that it's cute that they thought about the anti-gravity part, but like, just do it better. Like, it didn't need to be that little like. Anyway, I won't even bitch about that. But I thought it was a good episode. It was good. It moved the plot along. I also loved the design of the Klingons. I felt like it was very like in between Discovery and what we then see later on. It's kind of weird to me that it didn't feel very high stakes for a very high stakes episode. Like the whole time I was watching, I was like, oh, okay, like this is what they're doing. But I'm like, oh, right, they're supposed to be under threat of death. But at the same time, I'm like, well, we know Pike doesn't die and we know Mbenga doesn't die. So it's like, all right, well, how are they going to get through this? And it just, I don't know. The whole episode was fun. It was a good episode. I obviously have my nitpicks with the ship thing. Like, we go from in DS9, 150 years later, Kira can't even believe that they would go to warp within a star system, let alone, oh, by the way, we're going to point the ship at a planet and then we're going to hit that bullseye. I also loved how much time they had to talk when they're traveling faster than light into this pimp. Anyway,
I wanted a line of dialogue there with the math. Like, there's not to derail your top thoughts, but there is a great scene in the first season of Discovery where they're warping to the Emperor ship, and it says ETA 3 minutes and whatever. The speed that they say that they're going and that scene take the exact amount of time. Like, they did the math. The scene lasted the amount of time that they would have been at warp, and like, you needed some headcanon in this episode today to be like, oh, okay, like,
so
what?
This is a big nitpick that I had of this episode. I only have 2 more top thoughts, I swear. I understand playing with distance in space versus like reality. Like, you would never see, like, if we really did this, you would never see another ship. You would never, like, the distances would be too ridiculous. So I get that. But like, don't quote, you could say that you're farther away and then make it look visually different, because they're like, oh, we're 100 meters from them. There's no way that you could move a starship 100 meters close to another star. I don't care what power level you are operating at. At that point, you're picking something up. Like that, and then the planet, I was just like, So this whole episode, I was just like, okay. And then to echo what Chris was saying too, like, I am so, and what Will said last week, I am so goddamn sick of off the books missions. Like, what do they put on the books? Like, what do we do? Is that why it's a 5-year mission? They've only visited 3 planets, but they only checked in 3 times. They actually did so much. I know Janeway mentioned it too, of like, oh, it was a different time and they would never get away and they had to do cowboy diplomacy. And Kim, don't you know anything? Like, I don't know. Those are my top thoughts. It was a good episode. Visually very, very appealing. It just seemed like there was a lot going on.
I have to interrupt for 1 second just to say, Matt, I'm already taking away some bonus points for that horrible Janeway impression. But you've earned some, but you lost a few with that Janeway.
If I need to do another one, I can.
Oh, that was wrong direction.
Even worse. Yeah, I know.
Will, he's still in your bag.
Hey, you can't compete where you don't compare.
Boom.
Shots fired.
Leave it to professionals. Joking. Top thoughts on the show we watched. I liked it overall. I did end up being able to watch it twice, because the first time I kind of turned my brain off and I found myself enjoying it a lot. And the second time I watched it a little more critically and I went, oh, some of this doesn't make sense. Like the physics of what was whatever, the sciencey bullshit. But like, I found the character stuff super interesting. The most compelling parts of this was the stuff with Mbanga and what is his name? Baitha? I don't remember. And
I think it was
Baithra.
Baithra. Thank you.
There was an R.
It was actually Baitha, but with those teeth, it became Baithra.
Yeah, Baithra. That was interesting. And then that kind of dynamic with Pike, and then Pike and Marie, that was interesting, but it felt a little like that could have been set up a little bit more. And then the stuff I found with Una and Ortegas to be the best part of the episode. And I will keep saying it. Rebecca Romaine does not get her flowers. I think she's an incredible actress. I think she brings a certain level of gravitas to this. And I feel like for the first time in Star Trek, they understand what an XO, what a first officer does. Because they kind of establish it a little bit in the first couple episodes of first season of TNG with Riker. Like, there's a few things that kind of gets discussed and there's a few things that gets peppered in. But really, the person who reprimands the crew and keeps them together would be the executive officer. So it's like, I always think of it as like when you're doing a stage play, like it's the stage manager, you're the one who manages the actors and all the other stuff. The director has no time to think about managing the day-to-day of the show. That's the job of the stage manager, and that's the first officer. I think this is the first time we saw it, and I think the scene was played so well. I think both of them are really wonderful scene between both of them. I'm glad Ortega's got something. I actually think she's not utilized well in the show, and I think she's a great actress. So it was nice to see something to give into her, and I'm happy that this is the direction we're moving. Hopefully, we're continuing to move with this kind of Gorn trauma that we got. Instead of it just being a replay of what happened with Salon the first 2 seasons, we're getting something that maybe this is a different reaction to it. And now, like, this is taking Ortega's into a place where she is, like, being insubordinate. She's forgetting herself. Like, there's this kind of, like, her becoming kind of angsty in a way. Instead of it just being this kind of trauma, like, oh, I got scared kind of thing we kind of always deal with in Star Trek recently. But I think the zombies are cool, but I don't think it adds anything to the episode. Other than that, I thought the character stuff was really good. Kind of the Star Trek-y part of it was kind of the stuff that didn't work for me this episode. So it would have been nice if maybe they kind of it's nice to see zombies, and I thought it was interesting what they're doing, but it feels out of place in this episode considering all of the great character moments. Trevor?
I thoroughly enjoyed this one on my scale of like, would I rewatch this one just for kicks? Yes, I would. So like, it's not my favorite episode of the series, but it's fun. It definitely gives, there's an A, a B, and a C story all happening at once, and they all work well together. I don't know that there's necessarily like a lesson I took away from this, other than this episode does a really good job, in my opinion, of giving the much needed context to the Mbenga sort of assassinating a war criminal by repeating and reminding us that person was a war criminal. Like, not suggesting that political assassination and that we should just get excited about killing people regardless of their crimes, but there was stuff there. Like, this was a person that I know, because you just pretend to be a liberal. There's context and there's depth to a lot of Mbenga's decisions, and I feel like that episode didn't do a good job by itself with, let's have the assassination or murder happen behind frosted glass. Let's fast forward and actually talk about what was going on. That ambassador was constantly antagonizing and provoking Mbenga. In the flashbacks, I feel like the writers didn't, or I don't want to blame the writers. I feel like the overall production did not do a good enough job of highlighting everything that Mbenga was going through. Instead, it was showing us like flashy special effects. Like, oh, look, a cool battle sequence. Never mind that the guy was watching people die, one person, he's devoted his life to saving lives. And he's watching one person after the next die, come back mutilated. He ends up encountering this person who's slaughtering people and slaughtering, like, it did a thing that Star Trek doesn't do often enough, which is provide the context, the layer, and the explanation for a previous episode. I particularly enjoy it and love it when they do it with a previous episode that I didn't feel was tied up well enough. Like, sometimes Star Trek leaves those ambiguous, like, ooh, what's the right answer kind of, episodes. That one, they did it a little too much too. So this one coming in and giving us everything needed from that one and giving us more of a resolution. And not doing it by retreading the same ground, I thought was brilliant. And I thought it also gave the actor, I thought it gave Babs much more of a highlight than he's gotten, frankly, since his daughter died, which was an excruciating episode to sit through. And then, an amazing 5-minute scene of this man acting his ass off. So, for all of that and more, I really, really enjoyed the episode. I'll just quickly, because I didn't quickly go through what I loved, I'll quickly go through what I didn't love. Una's hair, I think that's been discussed. The quite obvious, we're on a soundstage jungle, did not work for me. especially when they've done like. I'm not asking the production to fly the actors to an actual jungle. I'm just saying, like, it just didn't feel. It felt very TOS, in my opinion. I'm going to give myself a TOS alert. It felt very like, let's just throw some rocks on a purple wall and we'll call this a planet. So that kind of took me out of the story for a second and bothered me a little bit. And then, what was her name? The Klingon daughter?
Bythra.
Bythra hit the screen like 1000% Klingon. And then the minute she had to deliver dialogue, she was like upset human person. Like it just didn't, there was no, I'm now going to act, but as this alien. Like whenever she was acting, she was a human. And that really, really bothered me because the character had so much impact. What she had to say was so important. There was a lot of meat on that bone, and it just sort of sat there and didn't get picked because the delivery just wasn't what it needed to be, in my opinion. Actually, I have another bit. I have a Mbenga theory, but I will hold on to it because it doesn't really fit in Top 5.
Interesting. You have a thought about Mbenga and it doesn't fit in your top thoughts?
Problematic gay alert.
I had
So it fits. It fits.
Oh.
Anywho. I'm going to hold on to it.
We're trying. We're all trying. And those are our top thoughts. Good night, let's dive into this episode a little bit more. So we've touched on a lot of different pieces of it. I want to bring up the Gorn of it all. Big question. What's going on with Marie? For those following us on social, I have a theory that I think Mother is mothering or is about to mother. I think I had this theory last week and we got more evidence of it this week that Marie is going to birth the more humanoid looking, slower, rubberized Gorn.
And introduce miniskirt fashion.
Yeah, more importantly. And good on her. So Marie's situation, we know that she was implanted with Gorn eggs. They couldn't remove them. Magic Illyrian blooded her way into absorbing them. But last week they said, oh, there are side effects. This week, something that Strange New Worlds does really well is the stakes of, like, we can debate the execution of a lot of these things, but what happens to these characters still impacts them in other episodes. It's not like not everything is forgotten. And so we're seeing, the Gorn of it all. Are they evolving? Are they different? How did they evolve to be those lizard creatures versus what we saw in Arena? Obviously, it's technology and budgets, but what's actually going on? And we got a really interesting scene with Spock. He can mind meld with me any day. And we saw what appeared to be a Gorn mind, I thought, in with Marie. And what are y'all's thoughts about what's going on with Marie and the catalyst of this episode? Let's go to Will and then Krista and then Matt.
Well, I was gonna say, can we just say what's Gorn on with her?
Let's go to Will and then Krista and good night, Matt.
That joke goes with your porn stash.
Oh my god.
Or is it a Gorn stash?
Oh god.
I brought him back.
Gorn stash. I like that.
Anyway, I think you're right. I think what they've done is they've written, because they said when they said we haven't met the Gorn before, but I think they've written in that whatever is going on with the Tell is what the Gorn in Arena is, or what they become, because we don't deal there's not like this stuff with, we don't deal with like the way they're procreating in like other series. So it's kind of like we got this big, oh, bye Matt. So
I didn't do it that time.
So I think they've created kind of a weird time loop in terms of what they're doing, because they've said, everyone has said when they have the writers and these other people, when they talk about it, Kiva Goldsman, when they had everyone that's talked about this, they said that they figured that it all will make sense. So I think that this, because of the blood and because now Spock mind melded with it, that now I think that it's implying that this is now more humanoid, that this is less scary monster and more like the Gorn we see later on that can communicate and so on. So I think that they've set themselves up for this with what's going on with the Tell, which is interesting. But also, you wouldn't have to do this if you didn't set. This was not the plan. I can tell you right now that this was not their plan all along for the Gorn. That they thought that maybe they could get away with having the Gorn in it, and no one would, make a stink. But this is Star Trek, so if it does not follow something from a show from the 60s, then everyone, gets their panties in a wad and their transporters start overheating or whatever. And it's like, girl, I can't deal with it. So it's like they've written this weird now mythos about the Gorn, how they're whatever. So I'm fine with it, but I see where they're going with it. And
to be fair, it was Enterprise that retconned the Gorn design a little bit first, but they definitely took it to the nth degree.
They just kind of updated it. It didn't actually venture that far from the
that's
Gorn.
true.
They
it wasn't
did kind of keep it pretty. Did look pretty similar, but they've gone a whole other direction. They're barely humanoid. So I think they've through semantics now. Technically, we haven't met that Gorn. This version of the Gorn. So because we technically have not met them. It's very it's semantics. It's them going, oh, see, we were right. Oh, we can do that. And it's just like, girl, you didn't need to. It makes us seem like we're dumb. I was like, I'm not stupid. I know what you did. Cool.
But they have set up something interesting now. Like the execution would be like, how do we weave this through? I'm a little worried that whenever they set up something cool like this and okay, I see where this is going. The execution will be where the fun is. They try to do a big swing and suddenly a crying child is why the Federation was nearly destroyed, So I hope that's not what happens here. And they go somewhat in this route, because it also, it ties into Pike's story. And, if losing Marie is part of what gets him to accept his fate and move on to that trainee mission, that could be an added layer that ends up being pretty interesting, and how they explore it will be fun to see. Krista, you were going to share your thoughts on Marie?
My thoughts are not as deep as those. I was just going to say that the mind melding also with the Gorn consciousness didn't strike me as very strange, given that it's presumably in an embryonic state and held within her. So its consciousness is rather linked to hers. So what I asked myself after that scene was, are we just seeing the consciousness of this Gorn that is in an embryonic state, or is this the process by which the embryonic state exists? Is this a physical and emotional rape that's occurring over and over and over again? It seemed to be a terribly violent scene, and I wondered what they were trying to communicate, other than the obvious, which is the Gorn is a violent species. I don't think they really needed to put an underline under that. I think we all kind of know that. So I'm curious if we're going to find that the placement and the situation as a whole is much worse, really, than just being an incubator. Hey, that's fun. I like to throw the fun thoughts out for y'all, so I'm drinking beer.
No, Phil, I see what you're saying. They kind of, La'an, like a lot of what we hear about the Gorn is from La'an, and she talks about how they're they're just like killing machines, like they don't have much of a consciousness, like they don't whatever. So I think this is giving them reasoning that Kirk uses later in Arena to deal with the Gorn in that situation, because like before you couldn't reason with them. They've tried communicating with them and they won't. There's nothing there. So I think this hybrid situation is like that. I think they're laying the groundwork for it to have a consciousness.
What was the, if that's the case, then what is the catalyst that happened off screen, off page, off everything that made them come up with this idea to begin with, presuming that they facilitated the idea at all and it's not just happenstance?
They wanted the producers wanted to use the Gorn because they're an underutilized race. We've seen them 3 times, and they brought them in and they turned them into these kind of reptile monsters, and the fans didn't accept this kind of retconning of the character, because they've always said the first time we've seen a Gorn was when Kirk did it in Arena, but we've seen Gorn a bunch at this point, and that this is their way of kind of basically acting like they're smarter than the fan base and going, oh, see, we planned this the whole time. This whole thing with Battelle and all of this stuff.
It's a new distillation of the same theme. It's just a more updated distillation.
Basically.
And like you had mentioned earlier, Krista, they didn't even have her first name until I don't remember it before Subspace Rhapsody, and that seems like because they wanted Pike to be able to sing her first name for lyrical reasons.
Yeah,
I really thought it was like the last episode. It was one of the things that sort of stuck out.
Episode 9.
But again, also, they're using this character that they didn't really plan much for, to sort of incubate this whole. I don't know. I don't like the feel of it. I think there's more there, but it's not. I can't quite, and I don't have the background that you guys have for the, like you're talking about Gorn, like everybody should know about them. I don't know dick about them. So
there's only 2 episodes. There's really only 1 episode you have to watch. So
no, I know, and I've seen it, and then I mean, listen. Do I need to sing the song? This is what I know about TOS. So I've seen the little lizard head and the whole thing. But these are dramatically different. These are very Geiger. Somebody said it in the, Joel said it in the comments. They are very Geiger. And it is a very Geiger-esque view. And if that's the case, then yeah, I can see where the fuck is that? I can see where I don't know what I just picked up with my hand. I can see where it manifests in a more logical or with some kind of like consciousness animal. I just don't know the beginnings of it. And I'm just, you know what? Somebody else take the reins, for Christ's sake.
Trevor's been chomping at the bit to say something.
I'm sorry. Take it.
I'm like a pre-embryonic Gorn over here. I do have my own little theory, and I've mentioned it before, and I think it's only bolstered by this episode and the everything that we and by Stan's theory of Marie becoming Arena Gorn, and or
birthing them. I don't know if that is her or if she's mothering. I just want to be clear in case I'm wrong. I'm probably going to be wrong.
I want it to be her. But I've said before, I feel like the Gorn take on characteristics of those in which they incubate. This has been falsely suggested, not naming name, that means I'm specifically referring to the physicality. I'm not. I'm referring to the actual traits of the species in which they incubate, making it a very Star Trekian story by them incubating in humans and coming out monsters. I think it's even further sort of, my theory is propelled by the concept of them incubating in augments and becoming horrific killing machines. There's something to that. It's extra funny if we consider that when they incubate in Marie Patel, they come out very slow and kind of annoying. But
Drag her.
but I didn't write the script. I'm just telling you what's happening.
Drag her.
They don't
Destroy
do
her
anything.
career.
They don't do anything with her hair. Let's be honest. They've done nothing with her hair.
And
Look at
credit where credit is due. She doesn't pick up the universal translator and start talking into it like Kirk does. Like, surely they gave me something to record a log entry with. Like, no, bitch, it's not. Like, why?
That's one of the things that takes me out of that episode most. I'm like, why would they give you a little recording? What?
They've given me nothing but a tape recorder and the chemicals I need to make gunpowder. What? No.
There's a coffee cup on the rock behind him, too, that was left there by production.
I'm telling
Take a
you,
drink.
she was supposed to die. Nameless. Like she was just a lost love. And
Agreed.
it was going to be traumatic and whatever. And then she
It is-
resonated somewhere.
I do
Somewhere in the
agree.
fandom, she resonated. I don't know. People
And
have
It is kind of fucked up that he decides to go. If we're talking about the episode Menagerie, where he from the original series, where he eventually dies and then goes off to Talos 4, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna live with this bitch I only met once.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go live with her, but this woman that I've had a full relationship with, not gonna do that." So it's
Yeah, but he
it's
also
kinda
thinks-
fucked.
He also thinks he's entitled to make or be involved in medical decisions for her, and all he ever did was fuck her and make her pasta mama. Like, that doesn't make you next of kin, boo. Like, you are not. You're her side piece. Like, you are not. Stop it.
In this episode, he said, I'm her ... and wouldn't even like commit to being like even her boyfriend or something.
It is a little.
He
it's a
doesn't
little
even know.
weird.
you are all sitting on the
Who the fuck are you? They were a
right
hookup. They were a hookup, and they
Oh,
made their
sure.
relationship like more formalized in some episode, whichever season it was, purely to like raise the stakes at one point. It was only for that reason, and now she's in the show more prominently. So.
And it's been interesting since they've announced the ending of Strange New Worlds with the 5th shorter season. They've said they want, apparently Paramount was going to end it at 4, and there was a negotiation for them to get 6 episodes in season 5 to finish out their story. They say that, like, I'm going to sound super bitchy as I always do, but they say things like, we're excited that we're going to get to tell our 5-year mission. But I don't know. It, like with Marie especially, it feels like, oh, this is a really good vehicle for what we just thought to do, because they've had so much time in between production and in between seasons. Like Trevor made the point earlier today in text with me that the Bythra and the connection to Under the Cloak of War probably would have felt a little more organic. I'm paraphrasing, but would have felt a little more organic if 2 years had not separated these seasons. And I'm wondering if the same thing is happening where, as soon as we saw Captain Angel, I was like, this bitch better come back. And it doesn't seem like that's happening. But then when they have so much breathing room, they're like, oh, this side piece from the pilot can be a vehicle for this story that we want to tell. And I'm liking her a lot more after they not retcon, but they massaged out some of the nonsense from early season 2, and I like the actress. But yeah, there's been a debate with me on Text Trek about, like, have they had the conversation? Like Will just brought up, like, does she know what's going to happen? Is that going to be part of his story over the next season and a half? I hope so. I hope they're not going to, in the words of one of the commenters on Text Trek, just going to Kirk it all over there the last 6 episodes. I'm a little all over the place, but with Battelle, there's an interesting opportunity to tell more of Pike's story. I don't love using a woman character to tell the male story, but if this becomes his relationship failing, or her dying or becoming Gorn, becomes part of how he comes to accept his future and chooses to take on that training mission knowing what's going to happen is because he loses her, or at least in part because he loses her. That the way that they execute that, I think, can be very interesting, and so it'll be fun to see what happens. Do anybody have any other final thoughts on the Marie Battelle of it all before we go to Zombieland? Krista.
It would be interesting if what they intend with this, and by including the full closure of the Mabanga, is he a murderer? Is he not? He killed a war criminal. He killed somebody that killed many people, and was basically a malevolent force in the universe. And I'm wondering if by including that in this episode, by the end of either the series or this season, if Pike will have to make the same choice. But Battelle is the menacing force.
Dun dun dun.
Murder is fine. Yes, murder is fine in certain examples. I could give several right now, but if
Starfleet.
we would have problems. So I'm going to leave that.
Well, let's
always
let's-
morally
That's in the
gray.
private chat.
yes.
Please subscribe.
Well, everybody get in the shuttle. We got to go down to this planet that has no fauna, only flora, which is interesting, and I wonder if possible. Matt has thoughts.
I'm sorry. This is something that's bothered me this entire episode. They beamed
Ever
down.
since this afternoon, after all these hours, I'm taking a stand. What was it, Matt? The way you phrased it was just lovely and dramatic.
Okay.
It was a
it's
setup.
bothering me since it came up in the beginning of the episode all the way through now. You beamed down to a planet with lush green foliage, lest Joanne pointed out from the Michael's Craft section. Listen, just because the soundstage has fake doesn't mean that those plants aren't still. The tricorder should still be picking up the plants that we can clearly see. There should that is still foliage.
It's Laura, which he said was there. He wasn't
Yeah.
detecting animal life signs, so there was no.
But
fauna.
like he keeps.
It's okay, everybody.
Right,
He watched the
no.
episode just before the salon.
Also, they took a shuttle.
How stupid is it for Pike to have said, well, they're not reading anything, and they're not, their heart's no longer, they're like mindless zombies. They're not, the shit they read isn't working anymore. It just seemed like, I was like, that's just stupid.
And it was still a life form.
I don't
It doesn't
understand
matter
why
what
it was
the tricorder
included in the
thinks.
dialogue. It's
I
just,
ca- okay.
Maybe they read as fond. They read as flora because they're moss. So
Right, they read as
Yeah.
they read as
Oh, so
flora.
they saying that
maybe they
it's
filter
overkill.
out. If we're gonna do some headcanon here, maybe they filter out. Oh, I only want to see, specific types of complex life forms that aren't this. Thank you. I'll use it to end this. But like maybe they just filtered it out in the scan. Like they're moss, and they did just like, oh, I didn't see it because they're now reading as plants, or they're not alive. They're dead. So they're zombies.
Exactly.
So it's like, are they gonna pull up as a living life form if they're dead?
The thought process was that we're like, we have zombies in the Star Trek universe. So what do? They scan for life forms, but they're the Walking Dead, so they're not picking up any life forms. That's what they were trying to do. They just did a bad job of it.
And as I recall in the Enterprise episode, those zombie Vulcans weren't showing up on scanners either.
Oh,
Okay, but in Enterprise, scanners are basically like.
She had a Vulcan
downsized
scanner
results.
with her. It was better.
They can what? They can scan. Oh, I don't see anything. It doesn't come up on scanners.
You know
Yeah.
what always shows up on
That
the
was your
scanner?
best to Paul. Yes.
That was
Bad. You know what always shows up on
That
the
was
scanner?
Trip.
This badass.
but don't you just love the message of the seemingly most innocuous thing being like just a deadly menace?
very War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's war. You can really sort of look in your real life today and think, the seemingly innocuous things are actually fairly dangerous.
I think that was absolutely the point,
Yeah,
Krista, that monsters show up in unexpected places and
exactly.
forms. That's like the recurring theme. I mean, Mbenga articulated the monster in me, but from Ortegas to Battelle to the zombie plants on Curtifor, whatever it was, that, we all are wrestling with monsters and
Una's hair.
Yes,
Una's hair, and we all have
Doris.
choices that we have to make to deal with the monsters without and within. I think that was absolutely the point that they were trying to make.
Mhm. Yeah, the zombies
I
were the
agree.
metaphor for it. I think, Joanne, you're absolutely right, as always. In fact, I have a banner for that. So we're down on the planet. There's plants, and then, whoops, we get Goldar Klingons back. I loved these Klingons. I like the update. Discovery Klingons never bothered me. I accept it. It's canon. Get over it. But the Goldar Klingons, I thought it was a little odd. Like, are they all wearing gold now, and they're just going to switch to silver by Deep Space Nine? Is it a fashion statement?
How many
I
times
liked
has
her.
the Starfleet uniforms changed? I think it was fine.
Yeah, fair.
But it was
Fair.
nice.
But no. My point isn't that they changed. My question is everybody now in gold, and is it going to be gold from now on? Like we don't get this in the future, so if they don't have it here, it doesn't matter. But something I did like about Discovery is there were distinct differences in the Klingon houses, and that was part of the story, right? As they were bringing the Klingons back together, reuniting them. So the Goldar of it all was fine, but with Bythra, I wish they didn't kill her. And technically, we did not see a fully dead body, so it would be interesting if I know. Just let me have this.
And not in a good way.
Yeah, I thought this character was interesting, and Strange New Worlds tends to get rid of or not utilize some of their interesting characters. And I thought there was an opportunity here with Bythra, especially when she showed up as like, no, I wanted to kill him. It wasn't that you killed my father. It was that you killed my father. So I thought that was interesting. And I loved the whip. I wish they did more whippy things with it. Like, she thrashed about a little bit and it was cool, but I wanted her to like grab one of them with the whip and yank them down. I wanted her to twirl from something and like swing down on one of them.
You wanted her to whip it and whip it good.
I wanted her to whip it and whip it good. I wanted to whip it and nay it. I wanted.
Well, I thought that like the way it was like the razor blades down the whip handle and everything. I was hoping that we'd get one where she just like whipped it and cut a couple in half.
Yes.
Or like cut one down the middle. No. That might have been a little too gory.
So many options.
Then
okay. Also,
show y'all.
It was cool though, and the gore.
Dead.
The gore in this episode didn't bother me. It was. I thought it fit in the. Oh yeah, it fit in the zombie vibe. I liked when Bythra stepped on that one head. Like, it wasn't too gory, scary. The jump scares, such as they were, like, I am very easily scared, and they did not scare me. So, like, if they wanted to go for more body horror scary, it didn't hit me in that way. But like Joanne mentioned earlier, what I found more interesting, I don't know if this was exactly your point, but I'm taking your point and making it using it for my new point, is I liked the metaphor of the zombies being that, like, there's a monster within us all potentially. And 28 star dates later, here we are with Mbenga trying to figure his shit out. Who has thoughts on Botanical Planet? Joanne came off mute. Joanne, go for it.
No, I was just going to say that's very wide of you to take my idea.
I caught myself, and I apologize. That is, thank you for calling me out and calling me in. I'm going to examine that. Who has thoughts Not on that. Unless you're Joanne, she can say whatever the hell she wants. Who has thoughts on what happened on Kenfori?
I have adjacent thoughts to that have nothing to do with what happened on the planet. It has to do with what's happening on the internet. If I could just get everybody who's watching this who's Caucasian to come here for a second. If you have opinions about Uhura's hair, shut the fuck up. Okay, carry on.
I thought it looked great.
Facts.
I thought it looked really
Uhura's
great.
hair was good. Una's hair was terrible.
No. It looks phenomenal. If you have negative, if you're like, girl, your hair looks fierce. You're correct. Carry on. If you have negative opinions, criticisms, questions that could easily be answered in a simple Google search, or I don't know, find a friend who happens to be black. Like, there's just a lot of conversation going on in the interwebs about black hair, and it's happening by white people who clearly have never met a black person.
Work.
I do. There's one. This is a little tangential thing that I'm wondering how many people like noticed when they are down on the planet. This is pivoting away from hair. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
We're going back down on the planet. But when the Klingons were firing their disruptors, there was actually the CGI department finally put in a burst around the muzzle a little bit that you could really see because it was low light. And I will say the CGI bringing like phasers and disruptors to life does feel so much better now. Although I do really wish that they would have stuck with disruptors being green. But that is the one thing that I noticed on the planet.
It would be helpful to differentiate from Starfleet weapons too.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like, we were talking about them fighting all the zombies and everything, and whenever they would shoot it, that had that, like, it wasn't a phaser where it evaporated them. It was a disruptor where it, like, kind of blew them apart. So it was just very well, like, I really did like the realism of the disruptors in this. I do wish they were green. Because then it would have been a more zombie green, too, I think. That would have been fun. But
speaking of the color of things on screen and going back to what Stan was saying about the gold, Stan,
the color of things on screen?
Do you know where Klingons wear gold? The original series.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think maybe the shift is sort of a setup for somehow justifying those horrible costumes.
Gold lace.
Back to like the technology and the violence in this episode when the zombies are descending on them and they put up that force field. I was really hoping, because we have all wanted to see it at some point and it's never happened. Slice a motherfucker in half with the force field.
Yes,
show it to us. We want to see it.
That would have been so.
We all want to know.
Like the hard light force fields they use in Strange New Worlds and Discovery versus like the energy force fields that they use in every other Star Trek. That would have been perfect to have that.
Also, I loved one thing I really liked was how Mbenga's knowledge of Klingon culture sort of played into this whole thing. So I really liked how well thought out her discommendation was figured out, and that by sacrificing herself she can have an honorable death and that it matters to her, and how Mbenga explains it. Loved all of that. Again, I usually find all that Klingon stuff kind of meh. I loved it in this episode. I loved how well thought out it was. Loved everything about it. So I hope we see more good Klingon stuff like this. Phenomenal character. Loved our guest actor this week. Babs Olsen, Moken, fantastic acting in this episode. I love Pike in this episode. I love them together in this episode. A lot of like great acting from both of them. We're finally seeing more of Anson Mount and more of what he can do. I actually liked how sort of like angry and confused he was in this, even though he was an entitled bitch. But I really liked how it all came together.
Throw my backpack down. Any other thoughts about the planet shenanigans before we unfortunately get back to this? But the interesting stuff that happens around that bowl cut.
Since this might be the last time we talk about Mbenga, I'll go ahead and share my theory.
Yes, please.
Because it's come up a couple times.
Alert ready.
What? No, it's not. It's actually not. I mean, yes, but no.
Okay.
Just go ahead and push it for what I'm thinking.
Yep, here we go.
Problematic gay alert.
In all the ways. But back to my serious point, which is when we were talking about, Matt was talking about stakes and like how the stakes weren't necessarily high on this. We know that like we feel that way about certain characters because we know they're going to be in the original series. We don't actually know that Mbenga is in the original series because we don't know the first name of the Dr. Mbenga in the original series. Joseph Mbenga may have a brother who went to medical school.
Another Gorn semantic wormhole you've created.
Yeah,
I'm just saying we don't know. So if they
canon
wanted to pull one
wormhole.
over on us,
And all right,
He-
Fred, just knowing just how last week that wasn't really Q's son, even though it was John Delancey saying son.
It could be
Not even-
Carter.
Could be
Carter
another.
Mbenga, stepson to Sarika Vulcan.
no. Rewind it.
Another.
What-
It was actually Spock's half brother's half
From-
brother.
From the first episode of Strange New Worlds, there's never been a hint or suggestion that Joseph Mbenga is a specialist in Vulcan medicine. But there is a specialist. There is a specialist in Vulcan medicine on the Enterprise 1701 in TOS. When we see Mbenga twice in TOS, he's a Vulcan medical specialist reporting to Lieutenant Commander Leonard McCoy.
I don't know
question
that
is
you're
constantly.
wrong in that
Or
theory.
are they
question-
considering him a specialist because he has been with Spock for so long?
It would be great if I could just finish. The question that we keep getting asked or we keep hearing is how are they going to circle the square of why does this person who is clearly an expert in his field report to someone else as the assistant chief medical officer or just a physician reporting to the CMO on Kirk's Enterprise? Why is that? Maybe it's because it's not the same person.
I mean, or just gets a demotion because he does some stupid shit, and he's like, "Well, I don't get to be CMO anymore."
Murder.
And that feels more problematic than my idea.
Oh, I'm not saying it isn't.
No. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying that outcome feels like it would piss me off more than the soap opera. Just kidding. He has a brother who's also a doctor.
Actually, they pull in Mbenga from the Mirror Universe, and he's just
Dr.
got his
Drake
knowledge.
Ramore fell down the turbo shaft.
I wish they would have killed her off that way.
I'm just saying. Nothing about TOS and Mbenga said, I fought in the Klingon War. Nothing about that man said. Like, I'm just saying it adds up and it would work because they never gave us his full name.
Well, that's probably because back in the 60s, they barely wanted black people seen on screen, let alone giving them a first name. So
Your theory works when it comes to Uhura not having a first name until very recently. So
was her first
I'm
name?
just
Was it?
noticing the faces. The faces.
Was it Zoe Saldana?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
finally
In
got
Star
her first
Trek.
name.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay.
It was in the
It's from a
it was in
book.
it was in some books. I think it was
Comic.
first name was mentioned in
okay.
a book or a comic, and then it was never canon until Star Trek 2009.
Same with Una.
and Nichelle had sort of blessed the name Neoka.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of not having a name until way too late, number one, and her milk braids. Let's talk about Una and Erica. Really great, interesting scenes. I think it was Will who said it earlier, and I know Joanne had mentioned in your top thoughts. This is some interesting stuff happening for this character finally, and the insubordination is her trauma with the Gorn presenting differently than, and I know Matt mentioned this as well. It's presenting differently than La'an's trauma, so it's interesting how they're going. I also hated her hair, but I love seeing Una in command and like being very cautious. I kind of agreed with Erica with let's just warp in there. I mean, even though the science was whatever, and get our people. The way that they executed this moment between them, I thought was really fun and interesting. Who has thoughts about number one and Erica? Will is twitching.
Yes. Always twitching. First off, whatever they're doing with Rebecca Romaine, she is snatched to the fucking gods. That face is fuck. That face card never declined. It's never gonna decline. That is a platinum card. It has an unlimited balance. It's crazy. Like whatever they're doing with her makeup this season, they're probably putting some face tapes on there and yanking because she's wearing a wig. Fucking sickening. Like whatever they're doing, A+. That wig, a lot, but the rest of it, very good. That aside, I agree. I feel like she's a cautious commander cautious captain, but I liked it as opposed to Ortegas because I think that whole situation is very interesting. Yes, pixelated. I for story wise, I think it worked really well, and I like that her is the XO, how she kind of looks after the rest of the crew and kind of guides, like she feels very, Una is mother, but like in this, it feels very motherly in a way, the way she kind of dealt with her and the way she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because she wouldn't, this is probably like an ongoing thing, but I really love those scenes. Like I could have done with half the episode just being that. Like it was very, very good. And I'm just glad they're not doing the whole there's something scary and now I'm scared now and having a flashback. She snatched. It's snatched. Like her brow's always pretty pointed, but like whatever they're doing, she snatched to the gods. I need to like whatever they're doing to make up.
Those brows are Vulcan.
She's not like
little bit Vulcan drag queen.
Well, that's what they should have done to offset that wig, is blocked her eyebrows and taken them up about a couple of centimeters, so that she'd have more real estate and it wouldn't have looked so.
It's sitting too far back on her head.
Yeah, somehow that's even worse because now it's like.
That's why they needed to block
front.
their eyebrows and bring them up. They needed to.
Her eye makeup from last week would have served this hair better.
Yeah,
it's also definitely a hard front, which is like it's criminal that's a hard front wig, or helmet, whatever you want to call that, because like she normally, if you notice, she never has. She always has a something covering the hairline, so she has like a bang or something's pulled or like the way her hair is, because she's always for some reason wearing she's wearing a hard front. But like they're dyeing her brows are normally like pretty light. I only know this because I literally saw an interview with her and Jerry O'Connell like 2 seconds before like a TikTok before we did this, and she's got pretty light brows, so they're definitely coloring them in because that wig is pretty dark. But anyway, I don't know why I got on this tangent. William's hair and makeup story hour. No, I'm rambling. I like their stuff. I hope this continues. This is the most interesting thing. Not the most interesting Ortegas has done, but some of the best first officer shit we've ever gotten in Star Trek. And I'll say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like about you saying that like she's being very cautious. I think she's very procedural, and like most first officers are very procedural, and most captains are very like seat of the pants, feeling their way through a situation. And I like crave procedure in Star Trek. So this was like a direct connection to like the original Una. So I think it was perfect. I loved it. Loved everything about it. Yeah, so I like that about Ortegas. I think Insubordination looks really good on her. Like I think it really suits her character like quite well. And it actually makes her a little bit interesting finally. So I'm actually really interested to see where that goes. So see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like every time we get a first officer, other than Riker, they seem to be in another bridge position. So like Spock was science officer, like first officer for others. Like Kira was kind of the first officer, and then it was kind of whatever that weird line was, and then Chakotay just kind of sat there. But like I like that there's like more like it seemed thoughtful. It was like, oh, this person, like they have a job. They're just not there to wait until, the captain has to go down to a planet and sit there and take over or like ask questions like Riker. Like it felt like there's a role for her to play, and her kind of being the coach for the rest of the crew to keep them in line and keep them kind of doing their job and keep thinking about their well-being is like the best possible thing they could do for her. But this does make me scared for her character later on, because we don't know what happens to Una. She outside of this show, she disappears from canon. After the first episode, she's gone. After the cage, she's gone. So now I'm worried.
One of the things that I didn't like about in Those Old Scientists, the pinup poster was her as a first officer. And so I was like, okay, maybe it was like the first officer month. I don't know. But it seemed to suggest that, because if she was going to be the pinup poster for joining Starfleet, wouldn't it be at her final rank? Is this her final rank? That does not mean anything for sure, but I am terrified that they're going to kill her.
Could you see her rank on the poster?
I don't recall.
Well, you would have to look at the sleeves.
Because of
it could have just been a vintage poster, and that it was commissioned when she was a commander. So,
would that be enough to make Pike turn against all if she were in danger? Like, how close is that bond versus this bond they're making with Batel? And was there a Marie Batel in the original?
No, this is a brand new. She was supposed to be a one-off player.
Unless
I think you said that last week. It was like she was supposed to be a booty call, and they stuck her around.
We've all had those. They don't leave.
We're not going to slut shame her here for that. That's not what.
No question. Who wouldn't get
asking,
that?
In terms of characters, is this a character we should know anything about? And I'm just not.
No.
Not unless she turns into a giant Gorn in a miniskirt.
Which anything's possible in Star Trek.
Well, they've gone out of their way
Except having a brother.
Establish a bond between Una and Pike, and they certainly haven't shown the same level of dedication with Pike and Batal. So I'm thinking, somewhere down the line, it's going to become problematic for all the reasons of the monster inside you, what is your duty towards your fellow crew members versus your loved ones, yada yada.
Thank you, Joel, for doing the research. Sorry, Joel looked up the uniform and he said you can't tell from the poster what her rank is.
You can't tell. Krista, I really think I think they're doing it clumsily, but I kind of alluded to it last week. But I really think they're using this particular storyline of Pike and Batel to kind of work through questions about, and maybe this is the woman in me, but questions about choice and bodily autonomy and agency, and I think they're doing it clumsily, but I do think that those are kind of maybe some of the underlying questions that they're trying to unpack, because his whole thing, like, that whole conversation at the end, like, this is not, your decision, and him be like, well, I wanted to be there and support you. Again, you need to ask me how to support me best, not these other things. So I really think they're kind of dancing around these questions without just coming out right with it. But I do think this is more about now what they birth. I think maybe Stan might be right. We're looking at the motherhood, the house of Gorn, but I do think they're talking about questions of birth and agency and my body, my choice, and all of those things. Terminating pregnancy, complications of pregnancy, people who don't want to be pregnant. I mean, also just kind of Batel's had a little monster and she saw the little crazy mind. I think they're just, like I said, I thought this episode had compelling questions. I don't know that they executed them well, but the bones were there.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for conjuring Shania Twain for me. Not your intention, but
as in man, I feel like
could you find a smaller photo of that album cover, possibly? Because none of us, I feel like it should have been smaller.
Is Shania Twain on a postage stamp? I feel like we could find one.
Let's maybe go, girls. I can't read it, but maybe that's Shania.
Here. Let me.
It's actually the album cover of a doll of Shania Twain.
There we go. The woman in you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, I should have zoomed in. I apologize to you and Ms. Twain.
Yeah.
Also, this is something we should do for STLV. Is instead of Mark Twaining, we should go as Shania Twain.
I mean, technically, they just said training, so
Yeah.
you know.
I'll
should have
dust
been more
off
specific.
my leopard cat suit. We'll go.
Yes, perfect.
That's what I was wearing for Baram night.
Yo,
That's what you were wearing just the whole time. Leopard cat suit, and then you're just putting a
Leopard cat
tunic
suit.
over the top of it.
I always have it under everything.
Mine's at
that's
the
true.
cleaners.
Good for you for cleaning it.
Oh my God.
speaking of
It was stiff.
doing badass things, I'm trying. I'm tired, y'all. I'm on 4 hours of sleep. We've come to our final segment this evening before I turn it over to Trevor to close us out. Tonight, we are going to make it row.
I always thought Starfleet had a lot to learn from me, Captain.
This is our segment in which we each get to nominate the badass of this episode. And
Your sounds weird.
well, it's a little weird. It might
Yeah.
have been video. Okay, cool. How was my sound?
You sound like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Love it.
Well, while Stanley tries to figure out his sound, I'd like to talk about our sponsor, Squarespace. YouTube is a wonderful website on Squarespace. Anyway, trying to get us something.
And if you want,
Sponsor us.
keep your Squarespace safe. Use NordVPN.
Surfshark
promo
does it
code.
better. Surfshark does it right.
Exactly. Use promo code
We are-
bottom at checkout. for 10% off your first purchase.
We are open to sponsorships. Can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That was perfect. Three sponsors that we are willing to do anything for.
With your
We are
money.
going to make it. We are going to make it row. The opposite of begging for sponsor. We're gonna make it row and nominate the badass of this episode. And for me, that is clearly Una Chin Riley and her self-confidence walking onto that bridge with no. My real nomination is for Dr. Mbenga. I think he is the true badass of this episode. His cultural competency with the Klingons, even like putting his own experience with them aside for the moment and not killing Bythra, I thought was a really cool moment. I wish she didn't die, but the stuff with Mbenga was pretty excellent. I think he's the badass of this episode. Joanne, how will you make it row this evening?
For me, the badass is Bytha. I think, she's fierce. And I also I thought it was kind of cunt to not, because I feel like the Klingons knew that there were zombies there, right? Because they came in kind of prepared, and she was like, "No, remember we got to keep the guns charged and all that." But they never were just like, "Oh, we knew this what was down here, but I came down here anyway because I needed to kill your ass." Like, fierce. So definitely my badass.
Krista, how will you make it row?
Well, I have two. I thought Bythra was clearly the badass, just on the comment of, no, you killed my father, like, instead of me. It was you, and that's the problem, which won it for me. That's a badass move. But also, I think Una's hair, just on its own, just the hair, because it like walked out of her cabin and dared anybody to say fucking a word. Dared anyone to say a word about it.
Everybody was wondering.
They were all wondering, but nobody said a fucking word.
Matt, how will you... Clicking on the wrong thing. Sorry. How will you make it row this evening?
I'm gonna make it row in a different way, and I'm just gonna call out that I'm really happy to have another hot human at Ops, just like Ro was, because
Yes.
that Ops man,
Thank you for bringing him up.
I want him on my face. I want to be on his face. I want all of it. All of that. All of the look there. See, badass, great ass.
Problematic gay alert.
Thank God I got one in tonight. I will also say I think the most badass of the episode is the Enterprise herself, because she warped into a deep gravity well of an atmosphere and somehow managed to pull away. So,
Giving her all she's got. Benji, how will you be making it row tonight?
I thought Erica was an insubordinate badass. She's a hotshot pilot. She pulls no punches. Erica Ortegas.
Will?
I'm surprised no one said it, but I'm gonna say Una. I thought she did well captaining the ship, and I was happy to see her actually like do the duties of someone who was the executive officer of a fucking ship. Like, congratulations. Snatch of the Gods, the wig's bad, but we've beat a dead wig with that one. But Una. Fucking Una.
And honorable mention to the makeup team and the prosthetics team.
Oh yeah, the real honestly, that's the real badass of the episode, because the makeup was really good this episode.
Yeah. Trevor, how will you be making it row this evening?
My row for the evening, the episode badass, is clearly Ensign Gamble for getting shoved across sickbay and still looking hot.
how did we forget him? Oh my god, another.
I'm glad he's around. I like him.
Apologies, Ensign.
I almost said him.
And he looks good in a cat suit.
Yeah. Here is that angle. Thank you to Trek Movie for having these images ready for me.
That man, that face, that ass, that chest, that hair. Ugh.
Problematic gay alert.
Well, friends, we are coming to the end of our salon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. We will, before we turn it over to Trevor, I want to just give a couple of updates. We, of course, would love for everybody to like and subscribe, share, comment on our videos, help share this nonsense with the world. We need a little lighthearted nonsense right now. So please do like and subscribe. Next week, we will be back, of course, at our regular time, 6:30 p.m. here on YouTube. Podcast channels the next day. In 2 weeks, we will be off because 4 of us that you see on your screen, myself, Matt, Will, and Trevor, will be in Las Vegas, Nevada for the Star Trek Las Vegas convention. That's not what it's called. We will be there for STLV, legal reasons. Excited to see some folks in the chat there. I know we'll be in Vegas as well, so get excited for that. And now it's time to land the ship. Trevor, land this bitch and give us the scorecard, please.
There were 7 problematic gay alerts. Nicely done, Queens. There was 1 tosser alert. There was 1 Ken dad joke delivered by Matt, none other than. There were 2 canon alerts. Let's see. Stan admitted he was wrong once.
I don't think that's true.
It's on tape. I can give you the
I know I'm gaslighting. Look at me gaslighting.
I can give
Wrong
you the time.
again.
It's fine. Wrong again. Damn.
He's wrong.
But he's not admitting it this time. I gave 1,031 bonus points to Matt for dropping little bitches like a little bitch. I took away 100 bonus points from Matt for bad Janeway impressions. But she still came out in the positive. I gave 25,000 bonus points to Joanne for exploring our inner and outer monsters as only she could. I gave 2,000 bonus points to Krista for boiling this episode down to, dude, where's my starship? I gave her an additional 50 bonus points for not knowing dick about the Gorn. I gave 1,000,000 bonus points to Benji for not being a jump scare susceptible sissy lala like Stan. Sorry, I had to. Oh, I shouldn't make myself laugh during my own jokes. I gave 69,000 bonus points to Will for clocking Daddy Spock in the comments. I gave 2 kabillion bonus points to Rebecca Romaine for acting her fucking ass off while wearing that horrible wig. And then I took away 1,000,000 bonus points to everyone except for Joanne, Krista, and Rebecca Romaine for first believing that Marie Patel morphs into a 6'3" stuntman in a micro mini before they would ever even consider that Joseph Mbenga could possibly have a fucking brother. That's all I got.
Someone has feelings about his theory, and I understand.
Love you all, mean it.
Thank you all. And again, thank you to our sponsor. And a reminder, if you have been victimized by the Star Trek hair and makeup department, you may be entitled to compensation. Thank you to the law offices of New York Tool. Hail them now at 1-800-HOW-DARE-YOU. Kapla! Live long and prosper, everyone. We will see you next week. Thank you and good night.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone.